When Kevin demanded that Liam Glick stop blackmailing Margot, Liam confessed that he was put up to it, but wouldn't say more. Then, before Kevin could get him to talk, Sergio and a gang of stunt performers came into the store and attacked. While fighting them, Kevin felt his power base weaken, but he still had enough strength to defeat them. After the fight, Kevin finally got Liam to confess by offering to help his career. Liam told Kevin that the person who put him up to blackmailing Margot was Atticus Daval, the financier who was angry at Kevin for stealing his role as the financier of the Cleopatra film. Having finally confessed the truth, Liam relaxed his shoulders and seemed much calmer.
"Oh, so you have heard of Atticus Daval?"
he asked. Kevin nodded. "Unfortunately, I have," he said. "I knew he was upset, but I didn't think he'd try to sabotage the production by going after Margot. What did he tell you?" Liam took a deep breath.
"To tell you the truth, Kevin, he was very persuasive. He told me that if I blackmailed Margot, he would help me produce my first film. He said he'd make me the most famous director in the world. He said he'd get me an Oscar."
Kevin shook his head. "Some people will say whatever it takes to manipulate others. He probably wouldn't have helped you at all, Liam." Liam sighed, but then looked back at Kevin with eagerness in his eyes.
"But you're not just manipulating me like he was, right, Kevin? You're really going to give me a role on the crew, aren't you?"
Kevin crossed his arms. "That depends, Liam. Are you going to give me the tape you were threatening to release? I need to destroy that footage once and for all."
Liam smiled. "Oh, right. I forgot to say. I don't even have the footage. I just, wanted you to think that I did."
Kevin rolled his eyes. "You don't even have the footage? Then you have intentionally wasted my time." Liam cast his head down in shame.
"I know. I'm so sorry, Kevin. I regret the whole thing. You've got to believe me. Please, can't we just put this behind us and start making movies? I promise I'll be super helpful on set. I'll do anything."
Kevin put his hands on his hips and let out a deep sigh. "Well, we'll have to ask Margot about it first, of course. Why don't you come with me, and we can ask her about it together?" Liam looked hesitant.
"I don't know, Kevin. The grudge between Margot and me goes way back. Can't you just make an executive decision to hire me?"
Kevin threw his head back and laughed. "No way, Liam. I may be financing the movie, but Margot has the last say about the crew. If you were too scared to talk to her, you can stay here and keep watching kung fu movies until you're ready to retire." Liam shuddered at the thought. Then he picked up the remote and turned off the TV.
"All right," he said. "I'll come with you."
After locking the door to his shop, Liam followed Kevin to the rental car and drove with him back to the Beverly Hills Hotel. As they stepped into the presidential suite, Sandra, Emo, and Adriana were watching a classic film, Sunset Boulevard, on television. At first they smiled, but when they saw Liam walking behind Kevin, they looked a bit confused. "Hey, Kevin, who's this?" asked Sandra. Kevin gestured for Liam to take a step forward, which he did. "It's a bit of a long story," Kevin said, "but in a nutshell, this is Liam Glick, and he's here to see Margot. She's still here, isn't she?" Adriana nodded. "She's in my room, getting some rest." Just then, Margot stepped into the living room. "I thought I heard a familiar voice." When he heard her voice, Liam froze like a deer in the headlights.
Hi, Margot. Gosh, long time no see, right?"
He reached out to shake Margot's hand, but she crossed her arms instead. "You really think I want to shake your hand?" she said. "Earlier this morning, I was kidnapped and roughed up by a bunch of stuntmen, all thanks to you. What do you have to say for yourself, Liam?" Liam looked genuinely shocked and concerned.
"What? They kidnapped you?" he said. "They told me they wouldn't lay a hand on you. I didn't mean for that to happen at all, Margot. I'm so sorry."
"It turns out that Liam wasn't the mastermind behind this after all," Kevin said. Then he looked at Sandra, Emo, and Adriana and said, "Remember that crazy guy we met this morning, Atticus Daval? Well, he was the one who put Liam up to this. He's obviously trying to sabotage the new movie, and I doubt we've heard the last from him." Margot still wasn't satisfied. "Just because Atticus suggested it doesn't mean you're completely innocent, Liam. Why would you go along with this?" Liam sighed with an embarrassed look on his face.
"Well, Margot, as I'm sure you know, ever since that tiger attacked your set and I took the blame for it, I've been blacklisted in Hollywood. I've been trying to get my career off the ground for years now and nothing's ever worked. I guess over time I came to resent you for that, so when Atticus suggested I blackmail you to finally fund my first movie, I had a moment of weakness. I'm sorry, Margot. I hope you can forgive me someday."
Sensing the sincerity in his voice, Margot lowered her defenses and sighed. "To tell you the truth, Liam, that tiger accident makes me feel guilty each and every day. I knew it wasn't your fault, but I let you take the blame for it because I put my career before everything, even my friends. I think maybe we've both been carrying this grudge for too long, don't you think?" A tear fell down Liam's cheek as he smiled and nodded.
"I'm sick of carrying it with me too, Margot. I forgive you for everything."
Margot took a step forward and held Liam's hand. "I forgive you too, Liam. Let's put this whole thing behind us, all right? New beginnings." Then, as tears welled up in their eyes, Margot and Liam hugged. After giving them a moment, Kevin smiled and said, "What do you think, Margot? Do we have room for Liam to join the Cleopatra crew?" Liam took a deep breath. This was the moment he was waiting for. Then Margot nodded. "Of course," she said. "Would you have any interest in being my assistant director, Liam?" Liam's eyes lit up with gratitude.
"Oh, of course, Margot. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I just have one condition."
"Oh, yeah? What's that?" Margot asked. Liam smiled.
"When I finally get a chance to make my first film, you will be my assistant director too."
Margot chuckled. "Let's not go too far, Liam." Kevin was glad to see that peace had been made. "He's got some real good ideas, too," Kevin said. "Anyway, is Madame Spatzel here?" Sandra shook her head. "No, she's in a meeting with Felicity, actually. Apparently they're working on her contract for the Cleopatra project." Just then, Kevin's phone started to ring. When he looked down at the caller ID, he saw it was Felicity. "Speak of the devil," Kevin thought to himself. Then he answered the call. "Hey, Felicity, how's it going?" he asked. "Hello, Kevin," she replied in a very professional voice. "Madam and I have drafted up a contract we're ready to show you. Do you have time to come by the office?" Kevin shook his head. "I'm a little busy at the moment, but I'll send Adriana and Sandra on my behalf. Is that all right? So long as you give them permission to approve the contract, I don't care who you send," Felicity said. Kevin laughed. "Understood." After hanging up the phone, Kevin turned to Adriana and Sandra. "Felicity's ready with the contract. Would you guys mind heading down to her office to approve it?" Sandra nodded. "Of course, Kevin. It'd be nice to get out for a while anyway. What about you? You said you were busy with something?" Kevin nodded. "There's something I've been meaning to do for a few days now. Talk to you later, everyone. Give me a call if you need something." Then Kevin hopped in the rental car and called Lucia, the film historian who helped him find the Lumiere brothers film reel. After a few rings, she answered. "Hello, Kevin. It's been a while. Any chance you were able to find the film reel?" Kevin nodded. "Believe it or not, Lucia, it's in my satchel right now. Do you have time to watch it with me?" Kevin heard Lucia squeal with excitement. "Oh yes, of course, Kevin. Say no more. I'll get the projector ready right away." "Thanks, Lucia. Can you set the AC to 64 degrees, too? We don't want the reel to crumble, remember?" "You got it, Kevin," Lucia replied. By the time Kevin arrived at Lucia's house, the temperature had already fallen to 64 degrees. As soon as Lucia opened the door, she looked at Kevin and said, "Oh, it's so good to see you, Kevin. Come in, come in. Can I see the reel?" As Kevin stepped into the living room, he pulled the canister out of his satchel and handed it to Lucia. "Be delicate with it, Lucia. We can't afford to damage the film." Very carefully, Lucia opened the canister and loaded the reel into the projector. Then, after a deep breath, she looked over at Kevin and said, "Well, this is it, Kevin. Are you ready?" After a long pause, Kevin nodded his head. "I'm ready, Lucia. Let's finally see what's on this thing." Then, Lucia flipped a switch and the projector started to play.